slice the mushrooms. This is one of my favorite ways to slice. You just use one of these egg slicers and everything turns out consistent and it's easy and fast. So you just grab a mushroom. These are awfully big, but they'll work. Press down, press up, pull through, and you've got consistent, beautiful mushroom slices. And I'm measuring out 8 ounces, so I have to keep track of them, so I've got my scale right here. So I'll be slicing and measuring and moving to the bowl until we get 8 ounces, which is a lot of mushrooms, believe it or not. This one's pretty big. I may have to slice it in half. Nope. There we go. See how fast this goes? It's amazing how quickly you can do it. There are people who can probably do it faster with a knife. I'm not one of them. So I like to just do it as quick as I can, as easy as I can. I'm done.
Alright, so tell me what you're doing. I mean, besides just cooking bacon.
I'm frying up bacon so it'll be crisp. I'm going to crumble it for a recipe today. You can start with a cold pan, but if you're like me and you're going to cook a lot of bacon, you're going to end up with a hot pan anyway. I like to slice my bacon in half, although this is the worst package of bacon I think I've ever encountered as far as falling apart. It's been somewhat mangled by the cutting machine, so we're going to work with what we've got. But make sure you start out with the fire on high and then reduce it to medium low so it doesn't pop everywhere and the bacon actually cooks and not burns. But I like it cut in half so that both ends get an opportunity to cook. If it's long, sometimes you can't get the ends as cooked as you'd like. So at this rate, you can turn it any which way. Get both ends down in the grease. The recipe we're going to cook today actually calls for browning your chicken breasts or chicken thighs, in my case, in olive oil. But why in the world would you use olive oil when you could use bacon grease? Because the flavor is so much better. Olive oil is very healthful. I get that for people who are really health conscious and wanting to watch the amount of cholesterol. Of course, olive oil is a wonderful oil to cook in, but if you've got bacon grease, the flavor is amazing. So you won't use very much of it, but what you have is just worth everything when you're cooking a dish that needs extra flavor, and bacon grease is the ticket.
This is why it's served Southern style.
Hence, if you're cooking Southern, you're cooking with bacon grease, you're cooking with butter, you're cooking with heavy creams. Is it healthy? Probably not, but my grandparents lived to be in their 80s, my parents lived to be in their 80s, so I figure, it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. And the flavor is impeccable. It is what you want to give. You can eat any way you want during the week, but if you're cooking to special guests, if you're cooking for family, you definitely want to give it everything you've got. And Southern style means it is the most flavorful, delicious food you'll ever eat. One of the things we're going to do is brown this chicken. And we've got Italian herbs, about a teaspoon. We're going to just pop it on the skin side. And grab some salt. Don't you love these old shakers? They're full. I love it. And then we'll use some fresh ground pepper. And then pop these in the pan, skin side down. Cast iron is a great way to cook. It makes beautiful, beautiful browning. So if you have one available, use it. If not, any skillet will do. Just take your time, brown them well, Okay, these have been browning for about 5 minutes on each side. So now it goes into the oven for 20 minutes. And while that's in the oven, I'm going to make the sauce. The chicken's in the oven, and now I'm going to make the sauce. It's 8 ounces of mushrooms, and you're supposed to use, I know the recipe calls for olive oil, but I had bacon grease left over, and you know I'm going to use it if I have it. So you just heat up that grease a little bit extra in the pan, kind of swirl it around a little, make sure you get it all over, and you, as soon as it gets warm, and this is a green span from Sur La Table, and you don't want to heat it over medium heat. You will burn whatever you've got in here. It conducts heat incredibly well. So you want to use about a medium heat or less. And I let it get warm on medium, and then I'll go ahead and put my mushrooms in. So we'll go ahead and do that. Oh, they're sizzling a little bit. That's good. Remember, these are all cut the same because we use the egg slicer to do these, and that's always nice because it will make them cook more evenly. These I should have separated a little bit better, but stir them up and keep them moving, and they will cook down and be just delicious. They're like sponges. Mushrooms are all like little sponges. So whatever you're cooking them in, it will pick up that flavor. If you don't want it to have much flavor other than the mushroom flavor, you do use olive oil. I think the bacon kind of complements these mushrooms, so that's why I use those. You cook them till they're a little bit soft and dark and delicious. Try to break them up a little bit as you go. This one is not breaking up, so it's probably going to stay the way it is. If they're big, it doesn't matter if you make them, kind of cut them in half. It doesn't matter. One great thing about cooking is not 100% accurate. You do it the way you like it. And, once you make a recipe, and I never, ever suggest deviating from the recipe unless it's leaving out something your family doesn't like. I hate peas. My family knows it. They'll never eat a pea in any recipe I make. But we really do try to stay with them until we try it once. And if it's something I can tell I'm really going to love, but I need to decrease the salt, increase the garlic, whatever the issue is, then I change it up. But I try not to change it the first time because I have a good friend who I would share delicious recipes with, and she would substitute 2% milk for cream. She would substitute this for that. And pretty soon the recipe wasn't at all like what I gave her, and she'd say she didn't like it. Well, the reason you didn't like it is because you didn't make the recipe I gave you. You made something else altogether. So I really recommend going ahead and staying with it the first time. These are cooking up very nice. Try to let the liquid cook down because there is a little bit of liquid in mushrooms. I try not to, never clean them by soaking them. They will absorb an enormous amount of water. I have a mushroom brush and we just brush it off and rinse it and then cut them up. We're going to let this cook down just a little bit more. Turn it up just a little. And look at those. They are looking beautiful. Okay, now we're going to put in the 5 pieces of crumbled bacon and stir that around. This is going to be so much flavor in this dish. We add the cream, 1 cup, heavy cream. Ooh, that's pretty. Add the thyme. Stir that around a little bit. I don't add a ton of thyme. It's not that I dislike thyme. It's just that I think sometimes it can be very powerful. I don't want to taste it over everything else. going to let that simmer for a minute. Bring it to a little bit of a simmer. Now I'm going to thicken this just a little bit with some cornstarch and water. If you've not used cornstarch, it's a great tool. You can add it at the last minute. You just put a little water. Just use it, put a little water in a tablespoon, and you kind of have to play with it because I like it in a certain way. A lot of people want it a little thinner, a little thicker. I do it till it's just a nice liquid, kind of milk textured. Whole milk. It's just a little bit thicker than water at this point. Now when this gets to a bit of a simmer, then I'm going to take the cornstarch. Cornstarch will not clump like flour. Flour has to be rendered a little bit. You have to put it in some oil to break it down, to get it in solution, and then you add your liquid to the hot oil and flour. With cornstarch, you can add it at the end, and because you have it in water, there's no chance it's going to clump up and give you lumps. It depends on what kind of gravy I'm making, but sometimes I use cornstarch, sometimes I use flour. I always use flour for chicken gravy. But when I'm making like gravy from a pot roast, I will often just use cornstarch because it will thicken it very well, and it makes it pretty and clear. Doesn't make it cloudy. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the cornstarch and keep stirring a little bit, get it well mixed. Oh, there it goes. Now it's thick. If it's too thick, if you think it's thicker than you'd like it, just add a little bit more cream. Just add a little cream to it. Thin it up just a little bit, but that way you can have it just the thickness that you like it. It's getting more like gravy. I don't want quite like gravy. I want a little bit thinner than that. There we go. There we go. Some nice cream sauce. Just a little bit thicker, but not gravy like. There we go. Now you turn that down to low, just let that sit for a few minutes, kind of let those flavors meld, and we'll get the chicken out. One of the things I like are these thermopens. They're great for checking the temperature of whatever you're cooking. Chicken is not safe till after 170, 175, and these are perfectly cooked. There's nothing, they're well, you have to test away from the bone, of course, because if you test on the bone, you're going to get a false reading. It's going to be a lot different, but when you test away from the bone, you get great temperature checks. So these are perfectly safe and delicious, and let me